They're freezing bit cold.
Well, that is very true. They do have to fly south so they can stay warm, but that's not the joke. You are very smart. All right, hold on. All right, go ahead, Derek's kids. Go ahead. Why do birds fly south for the winter?
Because because there's no food to eat.
You guys are just too smart. We're not in a joking mood, apparently. Birds fly south for the winter because it's too far to walk. They can't walk to go south, right? It's way too far, so they have to fly. All right, I think our jokes are flopping today. I don't think we're making too many people laugh with our jokes. We're gonna wait a couple more minutes and see who else joins us. Okay, guys? So today we have some really exciting people that have come to share with us on our classes for Nature Niños today. I'm not teaching today, and Miss Christina is not teaching today, but our friends at Talking Talons are teaching today. So you guys are gonna get to see some really cool information about birds, and I'm really excited because I'm sure that I'm also going to learn a lot about birds today. But before we talk about birds, am I still frozen? Can everybody see me? Somebody said they're frozen. Okay, I'm good. Okay. Before we talk about birds, I want to know if anyone was in class last week and they planted their bean. Does anybody want to show their bean that they planted? And if they do, type me in the chat box and I'll unmute you and you can share your bean plants. So if anybody grew their bean last week from last week's class, Aspen, did you grow a bean? Aspen, you were supposed to grow a bean last week. Jatnella, did you guys grow a bean? No? Oh my gosh, everyone's slacking on their homework this week. Max, did you grow a bean? You did. Do you want to show it? No, you don't want to show it? Okay, you don't have to show it. I'm not going to force you to show your bean. All right, a couple more minutes, guys. Oh, you guys grew a bean like that before. All right, thanks for sharing, Jatnella. I appreciate it. Oh, wait, Aspen, I didn't see what it was. Oh, that's not a bean though, is it? What is that,
Yeah.
Aspen? It is?
Yeah, it's a, let's see, where's the chat?
It's okay, you're unmuted, you could tell me.
Oh, unmuted. It's a black-eyed pea. We did an experiment 2 weeks ago growing black-eyed peas in clear jars and transplanted it. And this is maybe about a month old now.
Fantastic. Great job, Aspen. High five. Oh yeah, good job. All right. Okay, so I think, oh, let's see, hold on. I'm going to mute you, Aspen. All right, whoever's name is Sophie, I see you raising your hand. I'm unmuted you. Go ahead, bud. What do you want to share?
We planted the beans in the garden.
Oh, right into the ground. Did you do that?
Yep, and some of them are growing.
Awesome. You know what you should do? You should have mom, dad, grandma, whoever, take a picture of your garden and share it with me so that I can put it up on our Nature Niños Facebook page and show everybody the amazing hard work that you guys are doing in your garden. Okay?
We've already dug up half of the garden.
You did?
Yep.
Are you putting more plants in it?
We planted watermelons, but they're not growing yet.
Not yet. Soon. Well, thank you for sharing. I'm going to see. I have one more person sharing a plant. Let's see. Whoever has Christina as their name, go ahead and tell me about your plant.
It's a tomato.
I see that. Do you know what kind of a tomato plant it is?
Abalone.
Okay, very cool. That is a big tomato plant. I can't wait to see the tomatoes that grow on it. Yeah, I can tell you're working really hard to take care of that little baby tomato plant.
Yeah, it's okay.
All right, thank you for sharing. Okay, guys, so we're gonna get started. So I am going to introduce, I'm gonna unmute you, Betsy. I am going to introduce Miss Betsy, okay? Betsy works with Talking Talons, and she's going to share a little bit of information about, as you guys get started learning about your bird adventure today. Okay, so everybody let's give Miss Betsy a good high five like this. All right, let's shake our hands and tell her hi so that she can see us, so she can't hear you. Okay, remember, if you need anything, you have to type it in the group chat because everybody's muted. Okay, so I can't hear you. You can only hear me, and you can hear Miss Betsy. Okay, so if you need something, be sure to type it in the group chat so that I can help you or answer your questions, or Miss Betsy can answer your questions. Okay, everybody got it? Thumbs up. Max, I see you changing your name. That's all you do the whole class. All right, let's do it. Everybody say hi, Miss Betsy. It's all you, Miss Betsy.
Hi, everyone. How are you guys doing? Thumbs up. You're doing great or doing well. So my name is Betsy. As Sarah said, I am the program director for Talking Talons Youth Leadership. And there's a PowerPoint that Alicia has created. Alicia's in the purple shirt next to myself, waving. And she's going to pull up her PowerPoint that we're going to start in just once she comes right up. Screen sharing. All right, so has anyone heard of Talking Talons before? Maybe you guys could give me in the chat box, or in a reaction, you could do a thumbs up, or you could do a thumbs up in your screen if you've heard of it, or if you haven't, you can do a thumbs down. So Talking Talons Youth Leadership, this is the organization that we work for. So a lot of you know. Okay, so Talking Talons is a nonprofit. We're based in the East Mountains in Cedar Crest. We're well known for bringing in live, non-releasable animals into classrooms, and like birds of prey or reptiles. We also do field trips. We take kids and do ecological monitoring. But now, because everything is closed, we're now trying to do virtual presentations. So this is our very first one. So thank you guys so much for having us. So why are we here? We are here because Nature Niños, Sarah Candelaria, invited us here with New Mexico Wildlife Federation. Thank you so much for having us. We're so happy to be here. And we're also here because Talking Talons received a grant. The grant is called the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation. It's the 5-star Urban Waters Restoration Program. And what it means, well, first, this grant was funded by the United States Forest Service. And what it means is they want us to help educate and engage watershed stewards. Okay, watersheds, that sounds different than backyard birds, right? But they're actually really connected. And I said watershed stewards. That sounds like a big word, right? A steward is someone who takes action to protect and speak up for something that they care about. So like the plants that you guys just planted, it sounds like you guys really care about your plants. Or coming here and learning about backyard birds, it sounds like you guys care about birds. Is that right? Thumbs up? Do you guys care about birds? In nature, that's why you're here, right? So you guys are already stewards. You guys are already helping and protecting and learning about nature. And so the reason I bring about watersheds is it's actually super important and essential habitat for birds. Do you think birds could live without water? No. Could birds live without plants to live in? No. Could birds live without the yummy, delicious worms in the soil that need the wet moisture in the soil? No. So watersheds are really important to bird habitat. And the specific watershed that we're learning about is called the Harris Creek Watershed. So do you guys know about the East Mountains in Albuquerque? So they're up at the top, and it's the East Mountains in Albuquerque, they're on the eastern side. I don't know which way is north, south, or east in my room, and I think it's all different in your houses also. But basically it starts on the eastern side, The water goes down the mountain, goes underneath Albuquerque, and it ends up in the Rio Grande. Has anyone been to the Rio Grande? Raise your hand. Ooh, some of you, a lot of you, awesome, great. So that is a really important tributary, which is like a large word for, it's a really important piece of the water that enters the Rio Grande. And so we're gonna be learning about, you know, there's so many of us who live along the Terrace Creek watershed, from the East Mountains to Albuquerque, and then to Albuquerque, really. So, and all of us are a part of that. So really quickly, what is a watershed? A watershed is wherever it rains. Do you raise your hand if you think you live in a watershed? Does it rain at your house? Raise your hand if it rains at your house. Does it rain at your house? Does it rain at your school? I see some hands down. Does it not rain at your school ever? Does it not rain at your house? If it rains at your house, or if it rains at your school, it's a watershed. So wherever there's water, it's a watershed. And a watershed is basically, you guys see this picture on the slide? It's basically where water falls and then gets drained down into more water. So becoming watershed stewards is learning to love and protect watersheds and bird habitat, and also in the same way helping and protect birds. Does that make sense? Thumbs up? Okay, cool. So Alicia, let's go to the next slide. So this is a poll, you guys. Thinking about watersheds and that they're important bird habitat, we need them to have healthy plants. We need them for humans so that we have water to drink, and so that we can take showers and we can cook, and all those important water needs. How can we make sure that, how can we be stewards, and what actions can we take to help our watersheds? So here are some ideas, and I'm gonna read them. You guys can choose as many answers as you want. So what can you do to protect and conserve water near you? 1, take shorter showers. 2, fix leaky pipes in your house so that you conserve water and only use what you need and don't use extra. 3, do not run water down the drain, right? So if I'm brushing my teeth, I can turn off the water, and then only turn it on when I'm using it. 4, plant native plants and trees. So we can have pollinator gardens, right? That brings birds and bees and butterflies all to our garden and help the ecosystem and help life. 5, do not use harsh toxic cleaning chemicals. So if we use harsh toxic cleaning chemicals and it gets down our drain, it can, of course, it's gonna go to the wastewater management plant and be filtered, but some of it still gets into the water that feeds our crops, our corn, our wheat, our orchards, our fruits and things that we may buy at the grocery store. So, and that's why a lot of people are like, buy organic. So we really know what's being put on our plants. But it's totally up to you what you can and cannot do. If you can't buy organic, you can always buy, maybe plant something at your house. Or just not use harsh toxic cleaning chemicals and help your neighbors to do the same, right? So we all take care of our water. You can also pick up pet waste. Pet waste is like a huge chemical. Dog poop. It's one of the most things that can really harm the water. It's one of the leading pollutants in the water. So picking up dog poop is a really huge thing. And then stay on the trail when hiking, and leave no trace. So whatever trash we take with us, we pick it up and take it out with us. So we do not keep trash in the area. But you guys probably already know that. All right, let's see what you guys said. Let's go see, where's the poll? Ah, there it is. Wow, awesome. All right, take shorter showers, fix leaky pipes, do not water down the drain. You guys all did about everything. Way to go. Whoop, whoop. Wait, great watershed stewards. Okay, great, all right. So now that we've learned that, watersheds are so important to bird habitat, I think this is a perfect segue to turn it over to Alicia Kallenbach, our environmental educator, who's going to teach you guys about backyard birds. Sound good? Excellent. Alicia.
All right, awesome. Thank you, Betsy, for the intro and the first part. So we are going to move on the backyard bird section. So like Betsy was just mentioning, birds do play an important role in the watershed and the ecosystem as a whole. So as you can see here, the little picture on the right, that's actually a bird called a cedar waxwing eating a berry. And when the bird eats the berry, that's actually an example of what's known as mutualism, which is a big word. And that just means that the bird is benefiting the tree and the tree is benefiting the bird all at the same time. So otherwise known as a mutualistic relationship. And so birds are seed dispersers and pollinators for trees. And that way the trees can, like same as bees, birds can move the pollen from one tree to another so that they can grow their flowers, they can bloom and reproduce. And then if a bird is eating, let's say, a fruit from a tree, and then it swallows some seeds, well, the seeds go through the bird's digestive tract, and then the bird excretes them out, and then they drop somewhere else, maybe far away from where the tree is, because the bird flies somewhere else, and then that tree gets to grow in a new spot, because trees don't have legs, they can't move around to put seeds in different places, so they rely on the birds for that.
Alicia,
so
can I interrupt you really quick?
Yeah, sure.
Everybody that was on our class last week, is that not something that we just talked about? We talked about how seeds can move, right? And we talked about how animals can help move the seeds. So Miss Alicia is sharing perfect information about information that we just talked about last week. So good job. Keep going.
Awesome. All right, and so there are actually 542 species of birds just in New Mexico. Wow, that's a lot. So which birds can we find in our backyard, at a nearby park, or even in the grocery shop parking lot? So just kind of keep that idea in mind as we go along. So here we are. So I'm actually gonna run this poll, or if Sarah, if you could help me out with that, please. So how many of these birds have you seen in your backyard? So you'll count the ones that you've seen. So let's say if you've seen this one on the top left, this little sparrow, and maybe you've seen that pigeon down here, then you'll put in 2, or she has a 1 to 3, 4 to 6, 7 to 9, or if you've seen all 10 of them, you can also put that in there. So I'm gonna give you a little bit of time to see who has seen how many birds in your backyard, or even if you're at a park, even in a parking lot. I know some of these birds, which we'll talk about, I've only seen in the Walmart parking lot, which is pretty interesting. I'll give you guys a little bit of time for that. Which birds have you seen? Type in the number.
And if you guys can't figure out how to use the poll, you can type in a number in your group chat too. So you guys can share in the group chat or on the poll.
Yeah, either way. I'm gonna see if I can pull up the chat. I'm seeing 2. We got some, we have 3 for the 4 to 6 category. Somebody's seen all 10. A couple people have seen all 10 of these birds. That's impressive. All right. Has everyone kind of got their vote in on what they've seen? We got kind of a mixture. So yeah, 4 to 6 and all 10 seem to be popular. Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and close that. Thank you guys for voting. So we are actually going to talk about each of these birds individually. You get to learn about each and every one of these little guys. So the first one that we're gonna learn about is the house sparrow. This is one of the first birds I remember seeing as a kid. They're everywhere. They are at houses, they're at parking lots, let me see, so I have some different pictures of them here. And so, so their habitat, if you look at this middle photo here, it shows that their habitat is towns. So they live where people are. So we're gonna be seeing a lot of them. So the picture, if you look on the left side over here where it says male, this is what the male looks like. So in some birds, it's pretty common for the males and females to have different plumage. Plumage is a fancy word for feathers, like the coloration of their feathers. So if I say plumage, that's what I mean. And then the female down here, not quite the same, but similar looking. And then I just have some other photos of them, some sitting on a fence, they're at the bird feeder. And then we're gonna look at this little map area again. So we're gonna go through the habitat, like I mentioned, was towns. For food, they're an omnivore. We don't know what an omnivore is. That means that they eat plants and animal-based things and insects. So they'll be eating seeds, maybe like a cricket or another bug. And then maybe even if they can find like a really tiny like lizard or something, if they can fit it in their mouth. And then they nest in cavities. So a cavity is like a little hole in a tree. And then their behavior is they're a ground forager. So you'll find them on the ground looking for food. And then if we look at the map, it shows all in purple here, that's where you can find them year round. So you can find them everywhere in the United States, every single state, and then even down into Mexico. So that is the house sparrow. And if you guys had seen this guy specifically, I forgot to do on each of them, if you can give me a little thumbs up reaction on your screen if you know how to do that, if this is the particular bird that you have seen. And then awesome. And then we can do a thumbs up react if you guys have seen this guy. This is our second bird. This is the house finch. So these guys, again, the males and females look different. If you look at the top left photo, this is the male. He has this nice red on his front, on his head and his chest there. And the female's all brown. And it's funny because birds are kind of opposite of humans, where the boys are the really pretty, bright, colorful ones. And then the females are kind of duller, kind of usually like one color. But so the females can blend in when they have a nest and they're trying to hide from predators, take care of the babies. They don't want to be all flashy and having bright colors and stuff like that. So that is the job of the males in birds. And this is, if we look at the second to left photo, that's a male singing. They can actually be yellow as well. It depends on what they're eating as to what their color is going to be, kind of similar to flamingos. Flamingos are pink from what they eat, not naturally. And then we have a male and female in the next photo over, and the next one as well. And then we have a little male up there at the feeder. And then let's look down at the big map picture here. So we have their habitat is also towns. So they're similar to the sparrow. So they're gonna be living where we are, another common bird. So they eat seeds. They are specifically seed eaters. You can look at their beaks, and how those beaks are very good for cracking seeds. And nesting, they nest in trees. And they're also a ground forager. They'll be looking for food on the ground. And then if we look over here on the bottom right to the map, also in New Mexico, not as common or as dispersed across the US as the previous guy, but still very common in New Mexico. All right, so moving on, we have the rock pigeon. I think everybody has seen a pigeon before, if I'm not mistaken. You can give me a thumbs up if you've seen a pigeon at your house or in a parking lot before. And so pigeons, actually, you cannot tell the difference if it's a boy or a girl. They look very similar. So these ones could be boys or girls, we don't know. And they can also come in other cool colors, like this white one here and the brown one. I always get really excited when I see a brown pigeon. If I'm in the parking lot or something, I'll tell my friends, they're like, oh, look, I found a brown one. And then, okay, so we're gonna look down at the map down here. So we're looking at habitats are towns. So far, all three of these birds like to live where people are. And then the pigeons eat seeds, and they like to nest in buildings. Believe it or not, that is their preferred place to nest. And then they're a ground forager and also common. You can see on the map in all the purple, they're common all year round across all the states in the United States. That is the pigeon. All right, moving on. Give me a thumbs up if you've seen this guy before. Very iconic bird. This is the American robin. very well known for their bright blue eggs. If you see some eggs in a tree in a little nest and they're bright blue, you can bet that it's a robin that laid those. And so if we look at the top left photo, this is our male, and what he looks like, kind of has a more black head, a more red belly, and then our female is down here below. And then I also have a picture I should point out next to the eggs over here to the right is what the little baby birds look like when they hatch. Look like little aliens. Their little eyes aren't even open yet, and he's opening his mouth saying, "Mom, I want some food." And then here's mom over here or that might be a dad. He has a worm that he'll be getting and bringing back to his babies. They love to eat worms. So they live, so looking down at the bottom photo here, looking at habitat, they live in open woodlands. They like to eat insects and worms. And they like to nest in trees, and they're also a ground forager. So they'll be looking for, you can see robins hopping on the ground, and they'll be trying to listen or feel with their feet if there's any worms down there that they can get. The early bird gets the worm. That's where that phrase comes from. They're talking about the robin. And then if you look at the map down here on the bottom right, we have all in purple is where you can find robins all year long. And then during the winter, there's a little bit of blue down in southern New Mexico area where they'll fly south for the winter. All right, moving on. All right, the American crow. Give me a thumbs up if you guys have seen a crow before. Or was it a raven? You know, these guys actually look very similar. So crows and ravens, if you don't see them next to each other, it might be kind of hard to tell. And so I have some information here if you guys see one of these black birds, so you might think maybe it's a crow or a raven. The fancy word for these guys is corvid, by the way. You can try and determine which one it is by looking at different features. So you can look at their face, and let the top or the leftmost photo right now, you guys can follow along over here. So the crow has a bit of a smaller face, a more straight beak. And then the raven actually has a bit of a more curved beak, kind of a larger beak they actually have little feathers on their nose. And they also have more feathers kind of underneath their chin. And then the noise that a crow makes, kind of like a caw. It's like a kind of a high-pitched caw sound. And then a raven's gonna be like a more deep, like croak sound. That's another way you can tell the difference. And then when they're flying, crows are gonna be flapping their wings more. And usually a raven will be soaring more often, but he will have to flap his wings sometimes. So that might not be the best one. And then, so we're looking at the middle photo now. So the ravens are larger. Again, kind of hard to tell if you're not seeing both of them next to each other. And then one thing that I find really helpful is that crows will actually travel in groups together. So you'll see large, like maybe like 6 individuals of crows, whereas ravens, you might only see 1 or 2 at a time. So that's a really good way to tell. Usually you'll see these big flocks of crows, but then ravens prefer to just be with their mate. Okay, so looking over at the photo on the right, looking at their habitat, they live in open woodlands. So if you live up near the East Mountains or you're in the forest, you can see them. They like to live in forested areas and still around in your backyard. They are omnivores. So again, insects, plants, seeds, or even like small animals as well. They're not picky. And they nest in trees and they forage on the ground. And if we look at our map here in the bottom right corner, they are found in most of the US year-round, including New Mexico. Okay, so moving on. All right, how many of you guys have seen this guy? Give me a thumbs up if you've seen a roadrunner. Actually, one ran across the street in front of my car as I was driving up today. And I was thinking about my presentation. I'm like, oh, yep, there's the greater roadrunner that I saw. And we got some cool photos of these guys. You also cannot tell the difference between males and females on roadrunners either. They look very similar. And let's see, so this is one kind of gliding down in the bottom left side. They can actually fly, but if they're up somewhere higher, they can kind of float down. But they're called roadrunners because they run. They like to be on their feet a lot. And then let's go look down at our little map here down in the center. So we're looking at habitat. They live in the scrub. So that's like bushes, kind of like low plant areas. They're also an omnivore. You can see I have a photo up here of him eating a lizard. It's very common. Usually when I see a roadrunner, I will see something in his mouth. They do love to eat lizards. And there's other things that they can get their beaks on, plants and animal wise. They nest in trees, also a ground forager. And then you can look at their map. They're not as common across the whole US, but they are in New Mexico and Texas, so kind of southwest area down into Mexico. And they're our state bird. That's why I have the Zia symbol there. That's good to know. An awesome fact that the greater roadrunner is New Mexico's state bird. All right, let's go on to the next guy. All right, who has seen one of these guys in their yard before? A hummingbird. I don't know if any of your parents or grandparents, aunts and uncles have hummingbird feeders up. The hummingbirds will come to you. They love to drink nectar. So we can start with their little information down here. So habitat is open woodlands, nectar from the flowers, or you can mix up the sugar drink that you put in the hummingbird feeders that they also love. They nest in trees, and their behavior is hovering. They beat their wings really, really fast, where you can't even see their wings, they're going so fast. And males and females do look different. In the broad-tailed hummingbird, there are lots of different types of hummingbirds, but I chose to focus on the broad-tailed. That's the one I've seen the most at my house. But if we look at the bottom left photo, we have the male with his awesome ruby throat, and then the female does not have that, so that's a very easy way to tell them apart. And we just have some other cool photos of them, one at the feeder, one drinking from a flower, and then just a bunch of them sitting pretty up there on the feeder. And if you look at the map in the lower right-hand corner, you can see that during the breeding season, they will be in New Mexico, and during migration. So they're not here all year round, but during the summertime is when you will see these guys. So around now. Okay, so look at this guy, a little bit more of a unique looking bird. Has anyone ever seen this guy in their backyard before? I see any thumbs up? Maybe a little bit more rare. So this is the northern flicker, and they're a type of woodpecker. So if we look at the top left photo, this is what the male looks like. And then the one below that is the female. And a cool thing about them, if you look at this photo next to the female, is they have interesting toes that don't look like most birds. They have two facing up and then two facing down. And the fancy word for that is zygodactyl. That's a cool word to impress your friends with, that woodpeckers have zygodactyl feet. And we have a picture up here of a mom feeding her babies. And then these two awesome photos of these ones with the wingspans open in the center is showing that there's actually two different variations of the northern flicker. There's the red shafted and the yellow shafted, named for the colors that they are. So the shaft that's the part of the feather, that's kind of like the hard part in the middle that all the little individual barbs come off. And so that's how they're named for the colors that they are when they open their wings. And they're actually called a flicker because somebody thought that when they opened their wings and flapped them really fast, that it's like a flickering flame, because it's either like fire is either like red or yellow, right? So it's like kind of like they're like little fire flamed wings as they're flying about that are flickering. I thought that was a fun fact. Okay, so let's go down to their habitats. They live in open woodlands. Of course, they love trees. And then they eat insects, and then they nest in cavities. As we see up here, the babies are in that little hole that she's made. And then they're also ground foragers, looking for food on the ground. And they are common across most of the US year round. And sometimes a little bit of blue there in New Mexico for the winter. All right, so let's move on. So who has seen this guy before in their backyard? Or this is the one I was talking about in the parking lot. Give me a thumbs up if you've seen them, maybe in the Walmart parking lot. This is the great-tailed grackle. I actually had to look up this bird as I was so curious. I always saw them. There was always a lot of them. And they're known for being very social, very loud, kind of obnoxious birds. And we have the male up here is the shiny black one. And then the female kind of has a more brown plumage. And then here's a photo of a ton of them sitting up on this wire. That's all a bunch of grackles and their huge flock. Another picture of a male, and then a bunch of them having a heyday over here up on the top right. So their habitat is towns, so they're gonna be around where we are. They like to eat insects, and they nest in trees, and they forage for food on the ground. And if you look at our map here on the bottom right, they're found in New Mexico and down into Mexico. So kind of in the southwest here, so kind of more southern. Okay, let's go. All right, so this is our last bird. This is the American kestrel falcon. This guy's really cool. Has anyone seen the kestrel falcon in their backyard before? This is actually a bird of prey, the first and only bird of prey we'll be talking about today. This is actually the smallest falcon in all of North America. And we can see, so the males and females do look different. So if we look at the top left photo, we have our male. He has this nice blue, bright blue and orangish colors. And then this is our female down here on the bottom left. And I want to point out, if you do see one of these guys, you can tell, an easy way to tell males from females is if you look at the tail, the male has this very large black stripe on the tip of his tail. So if you look at the second photo from the left, and then this far, far top right photo, this is the males with this one big stripe. But then if you look at this photo in the center here, this is the female. And if you look at her tail feathers, she has a bunch of little stripes. So that's an easy way to tell them apart. And they actually, they'll sit up on wires and they'll kind of use their tail to balance. So a good behavioral feature that you guys can identify them by is if you see them sitting up on a wire, like their tail will be doing this. So they'll try and be balancing. And then this is one on the, let's see, second to right photo is one of them in an aerial dive. They're going down to get their prey. So let's look down at the bottom photo here. So they live in grasslands. They like to eat small animals. So lizards, chipmunks, mice, squirrels, rats, things like that. And they nest in cavities as well, just like our woodpecker. And then their behavior is that aerial dive that we were talking about and the moving of the tail. And then we look at our little map. They are found year round in New Mexico. So it is likely you may spot one of these guys. Okay, so real quick, you guys can use the chat and you can name any bird that we didn't talk about today that you have seen in your backyard before. I'm curious to see if you guys have seen any other different birds that I did not mention today. I'm gonna read out some examples if I see them.
And if you guys want to say it and not spell it, because spelling bird names are sometimes hard, you can just type me in the group chat and I can unmute you so you can just share it.
Ooh, I see scrub jays. Oh, quails. Yeah, I wanted to include quails. I couldn't include every bird. Woodpecker, scarlet tanager. Awesome. Towhees. Oh, sweet. Yeah, lots and lots. There's 542 different species, so I only talked about 10. I'm pretty sure you guys have seen more. Is there anyone else? You can type me if you want to say it. Oh, we got a me. Let's see, Sarah, are you able to unmute them? Let's see if I can navigate. Oh, the mourning dove. I originally had included the mourning dove, but I had to bring my number down on how many I was talking about. But yes, I love mourning doves. I can't quite hear you guys. I see a lot of static. Ooh, okay, so we got, what is the difference between bluebirds and blue jays? So bluebirds are, I believe, are smaller, and I do have a reference at the end of, on one of my end slides under resources where you can type in the name of a bird into the Cornell Lab of Ornithology, and you can look up all the facts and pictures about birds, so that's just something to remember. But blue jays have, I think they're mostly blue, and they have a little bit like black stripes on them. There's also, for bluebirds, there's the eastern bluebird and the western bluebird, and they're blue on the top with like brown on their chest. Kingbirds. I'm not familiar with kingbirds. Okay. Like kingfishers. Oh yes, I love kingfishers. Those guys are really cool. Small little guys that like to eat fish as they're flying, and they'll get fish out of the water. It's really cool to look at. Okay, awesome. Oh yes, owls. Owls are amazing and awesome as well. All right, I think I'm gonna put the chat away. Thank you guys for sharing the other birds. And we are going to go to our next slide. So this here, here, let me move my thing out of the way here. I can get it. Okay, it's not listening to me. That's okay. So this is our homework. We are going to, if possible, to download the Merlin Bird ID app. It is free, and it looks like this. I have a picture of it, what the little app looks like, and it's from the Cornell Lab of Ornithology. As I mentioned earlier, that's an awesome resource. You guys can just type it into Google. They have a lot of cool things you can do on their website, like typing the name of a bird and figuring out details about them, where they live, pictures, all that. So as far as the app, you want to download the app free, and then you can download the US Southwest package. So it's going to allow you, so it has all the birds that are in our region. So if you see one, it's not gonna be trying to give you the name of a bird that lives in like Australia or something. So it'll be specific to our area. And if you are gonna be traveling, they have one that's for all of the US and Canada. So if you are gonna be going in different states or up into Canada, they have that option as well. So that's up to you. And there also is an alternative. If you are unable to download the app, or you don't have access to a phone or internet or anything, that's totally okay. You can draw the birds that you see instead, and you can just describe them. You can tell us about the color and the size, what were they doing, what sounds were they making, was there more than one of them, and then we can bring back and share on Friday when we see each other again. And I would like everyone either using the app or drawing and describing their birds or taking a picture to identify 3 birds by Friday. So that shouldn't be too bad, too hard. You can get ID more if you'd like. I get really addicted to it, and I go out in my backyard and I do like 10 at a time. And so also one thing though, it does not save the ones that you ID once you get the name. So it'll give you like 5 questions. There's some examples down here at the picture on the bottom right side. So I was gonna say, what size was the bird? What were the main colors? And you can choose up to 3, and then what was it doing? And then it'll pop up with the name of the bird with a picture, and then you can scroll through. If it's not the first one, you can find it, and it'll give you the name. Hurry and write down the name, because you can't actually go back in, which I'm kind of frustrated about. That I cannot see the birds that I've ID'd before. So as soon as you get the name of them, before you go on to your next bird, write down the name that it gives you. So do we have any questions on that? Was I clear on how to, we're downloading the app. We are IDing 3 birds.
You do have a question. You have a question from Max. Max, I think I already unmuted you, babe. Go ahead.
Is it okay if I use iNaturalist? Because that's what I use to identify my stuff.
Yes, that is totally okay. You can use any other app that does the same thing. I just looking for names of birds that you ID. So that also works. Great question.
Good question, Max.
Yeah, there's lots of different ones. I just like this one because it's free. It's the one I use. But if you have a better one that you want to use instead, go for it. Was there any other questions that anybody had?
All right. Yes, Christina's kids. Or not Christina's, Tori's kids. Hold on. All right, go ahead, guys. You're unmuted.
It was something I kind of wanted to say and ask if you guys have seen. I think we saw I think it was a northern hare hawk that we saw, like just right there. Have any of you seen that before?
Oh, so we're asking if other people have seen that one before.
Well, it looks like Max has seen it. That's a good one. I'm glad you brought it up.
Yeah, those guys definitely bigger than the kestrel. They're big guys.
All right.
We're using the chat if we've seen the harrier hawk. Yeah, they're really cool. There's lots of different types of hawks and falcons. Another cool fact, my favorite falcon is the peregrine falcon. That's actually the fastest animal on the planet. It can dive at speeds of 250 miles per hour.
Wow.
Really fast. That's faster than the cheetah that can only run at 60 to 70 miles per hour. But that'd be another fun one to research, the peregrine falcon.
All right, you have another question from Santina. Santina, do you want to share? You're unmuted, love. Go ahead.
Yes, can we just already put birds that we already saw a few days ago?
Yeah, if it's recent and you've seen them and you know what type they were and ID'd them, you could do that. I'd say yeah.
Yes, but challenge yourself more to find 3 more at least. That's a good question though, Santina. Anybody else have a question? You can raise your hand either on your picture and I'll unmute you, or you can put it in the group chat.
Oh, I see a hand.
All right, one more. All right, Eli's little sister, go ahead.
Is it okay if you like saw one like yesterday?
Yeah, we could count one you saw yesterday. I would say that's okay. If you try and find 2 more. All right, was that all of our questions, guys?
That looks like all of our questions.
Yeah, okay. Also, one other thing I wanted to mention was the first thing on my slide that I forgot to mention was that when you're using the apps, you're actually participating in citizen science. So you are helping scientists. You're actually being a scientist yourself. When you ID these birds, it goes into their database, and then it helps scientists use that data to figure out where these birds are in the US. I mean, a scientist can't travel to everybody's house and be like, okay, I'm gonna look with my binoculars in everyone's backyard for these birds. No, that'd be way too hard. So it relies on you guys to put in when you see the birds, and then everyone together puts in a lot of data into these apps, and they can pull that information and then see like different migration patterns of birds, where these birds are showing up, how many of them there are in a place. So it's really, really cool. So you're actually doing science and being scientists. It's called citizen science. Oh, awesome.
Very cool. I'm going to mention something really quick. Jet, it seems that you've been on this call for a very long time, so long that you've grown a mustache. Is that true? Because I can see your mustache, Jet. Wow. And that goes really quick. All right. All right, go ahead, Alicia.
All right. Okay, so that was we will move on to the next slide. All right, so chickens, we're gonna talk about chickens, which are not technically a wild bird, but they can be a backyard bird in a lot of people's backyards, or even farm animals. They are near and dear to my heart. I actually have some photos up here. The top left 2 are chickens from my childhood. I looked at the date on the photos. I took them in 2009. That was a while ago. This is Fuzzball, the one with the little fluffies on her head. And then we have some other photos of some other chickens. That's me in these bottom 2. There's 2 younger chicks here. There's 2 roosters that I'm holding. And then there's a mama hen here. And if you see there's a little baby hiding on her back that you can see. And then there's some down below. She actually sat on those chicks and hatched them herself. And then this is a little baby chick on the bottom left corner here. So how many of you, we're gonna run, if we have the poll, how many of you have seen a chicken in real life before? Let's see. I'm just curious. Okay, we have 5 people yes, a couple people no. Ooh, actually quite a few of you guys. 7 yes, 1 no. 8 yes. Okay, cool. So we're gonna learn a little bit about chickens. I'm gonna play the beginning of a YouTube video for you guys, so bear with me. I'm gonna try and make sure my screen share doesn't wig out on me when I do this. So just a little bit of background before I play the video. It's just kind of like the ancient history of chickens, how they went from being a wild bird to the domesticated bird that we know today. So domesticated is a fancy word for like a pet, like a cat or a dog is a domesticated animal. So let's see if I can do this. Let me see. Okay, so I'm gonna actually have to flip through the rest of these slides to exit it. I had to do this the other day. Yes, I want to exit. I will have to go back in just a second. So let me see. Okay, we're gonna go to the YouTube. We're going to do that. And can you guys see it? Can you see the screen? Give me a thumbs up if you can read the little phrase that we have on here. Does that look good on your screen, Sarah? I want to make sure it's gonna work right. Okay, so I'm just gonna watch the first minute or so.
The annals of ancient Egyptian king Thutmose III described a marvelous foreign bird that gives birth daily. Zoroastrians viewed them as spirits whose cries told of the cosmic struggle between darkness and light. Romans brought them on their military campaigns to foretell the success of future battles. And today, this bird still occupies an important, though much less honorable position on our dinner plates. The modern chicken is descended primarily from the red jungle fowl and partially from 3 other closely related species, all native to India and Southeast Asia. The region's bamboo plants produce massive amounts of fruit just once every few decades. Jungle fowls' ability to lay eggs daily may have evolved to take advantage of these rare feasts, increasing their population when food was abundant.
All right, there's a little bit of history on chickens. Let me close this and bring, let me see, back up. Or actually, you know what I'm going to do? We're going to stop sharing. Okay, so we have reached the special surprise part of the presentation where I actually have a guest for you guys to meet. I'm sure you might be able to guess what type of bird he is, considering the slides that we just went over. And I want to make sure, am I the large screen again now? I'm off of the screen sharing. Thumbs up if you guys can see me in the big screen. Okay, awesome. So I am going to bring out, in just a second, a live animal. And so I want to go over some rules and things that we want to keep in mind when we have a live animal present. So I'm looking for things such as being calm and quiet and listening. So we're already muted, so that's, we will have time for questions at the end. We'll unmute you guys and we'll get to talk. And I do want to mention, let's keep it to questions and not stories. I know a lot of people, you guys have seen chickens in real life and you all have an amazing story for us all to hear, but let's tell your friends and let's do the questions so we can all learn about my friend. So I am gonna go grab him. He is a rooster, so I will be right back so you guys can see him. Give me 1 second.
Who's excited for the chicken? Raise your hand if you're excited. I love chickens. Raise your hand if you have chickens at your house. I have chickens in my house. Raise your hand if you like to eat eggs. Oh, here's the chicken. Go ahead.
This is Tabby. Let me just set him up really quick. He's probably gonna be making lots of little different noises. He likes to do that. Just give me a second. Yes, hello, my sweetie. Okay, we're gonna put a blanket down because animals do go to the bathroom if you don't want it on the table. Okay. And so he may crow randomly in the middle of me talking. That is his behavior. If he does that, we will just wait. And let me see if I can, let's see. Okay, so I'm gonna try and we will just hold him up so you guys can see him. I'll get him closer. There he is. So Tabby, so his name's Tabby, and he is what's known as a Malaysian Serama rooster. So chickens, so he's a chicken. If they're a rooster, that means they're a boy, and if it's called a hen if it's a girl, and it's called a chick if it's a baby. And so we're going to talk a little bit about his story. So he actually began life crammed in a tiny little crate in the sun with 12 other roosters that were bigger than him. And so he actually grew up under their feet, was growing up, until there were some community members that were concerned about the situation, how he was being treated by this previous owner. So luckily, after several complaints, he surrendered the birds, which means he gave them up to people who actually care and want to take care of them properly. And he now lives with our caretaker that is nice enough to let Talking Talons borrow him for this presentation. And he is what's known as an ambassador to his species. So he is here to teach you guys about himself and about all other chickens, and hopefully inspire you to care and respect chickens and be interested in their well-being. And so Tabby now, like I said, he lives with a community member that is taking very good care of him. He has plenty of space to grow in, and he's very loved. Some fun facts of what he likes to do. He actually is mostly an indoor chicken, which is not common. Usually chickens are outdoor, but since he is so small, which we'll talk about in a second, why he is so small, he would be an easy snack for those hawks and owls and falcons that we were talking about. So yeah, he is mostly indoors. He likes to watch TV with his family. His favorite thing to eat is oatmeal, and he goes for car rides to the pet shop, to the park, and he also, okay, so yes, he is about a year old or so, and he weighs 2.5 pounds. He is a little guy, and he's a miniature breed, and it's known as bantam. That's the fancy word for miniature. Like there's like for Chihuahuas, there's like toy breeds and cup breeds. So if a chicken is a bantam, that means it's a miniature one. So he's actually large for a Serama. So Seramas are the smallest breed of chicken in the world. They're a relatively new breed, only been around for 50 years or so, and they can actually be smaller than a can of soda. So he's actually pretty big for a Serama. And then just kind of some identification. So this red part up here on his head is called his comb. And then these little dangly things below his beak are called the wattles. And then these are his ear lobes right here on the side. And then, so these guys, they're ornamental birds. They're not used for like meat or eggs anymore, really. Their eggs are very tiny. So he doesn't lay eggs, he is a rooster. But the hens, I mean, they lay these little teeny little tiny eggs that wouldn't make for good omelets. So they're more just kind of like pets and companions. And so like the video mentioned, the wild ancestor of the chicken is the red jungle fowl, originally over in India, Southeast Asia. And so their natural habitat is like open ground or even like forested areas. And the wild ones are even known to live kind of near human civilization. They're probably trying to eat their crops, like their corn and stuff like that, easy meal. As far as diet goes for any chicken, they're not very picky. They're opportunistic omnivores, which we talked about omnivore a little bit earlier in the presentation. So they will eat a mixture of plant and animal-based things. And they do love seeds. There is chicken scratch, which is like corn and different seed mixtures. And they also give the females, you can actually, fun fact, which I used to do with my chickens, you can crush up the eggshells of the eggs after you eat them and then feed them back to the hens, and it'll help replenish the calcium that they lose when they lay eggs, because those eggshells are made out of calcium, kind of like our bones. And so to give them back those nutrients to produce new eggs, you can crush up their eggshells, or you can give them oyster shell. It is Pretty cool. And also another fun fact is chickens actually take baths in dirt. It is not good to get a chicken wet. They do not take baths in water like other birds that you'll see at little bird baths. They actually need to, they'll use the dust and the dirt to regulate the oil on their skin. They'll use it to absorb excess oil, and it actually will rub off any like mites or lice or parasites that they have. So you can look up, it's a fun thing to watch if you go on YouTube. You can type in chicken taking a dust bath or a dirt bath, and it's really cute. Trying to think if there are any other before we get to the question part. So females will usually lay about one egg every 1 to 3 days. Sometimes they will lay every day. Yeah, I think that's pretty much all my facts about Tabby here. So we can open it up to questions we would like. See if I can get him.
All right, guys, if you have a question, you can either raise your hand and I can see you, or type me in the chat box and I'll unmute you. Okay? I know Miss Alicia's doing fantastic on our presentation, but it's almost lunchtime. Who's hungry for lunch? Oh yeah, everybody's hungry for lunch. Any questions at all? All right, Xavier, go ahead, bud. You are unmuted. No question. Okay, just kidding. All right, Ivy, you want to ask a question? You're unmuted, love. Go ahead if you want to. No? No. Okay, just kidding. All right, McKenna, go ahead. Ask your question.
You're muted.
We used to have chickens. And but that was a long time ago until these dogs showed up that weren't ours, and they killed our chickens.
Oh no, that's so sad.
So lots of chickens.
No.
All right, that's sad. All right, Ella, let's try you guys. Go ahead. Nope, we can't hear you. You're gonna have to type it in the group chat, love. Sorry. We can't hear you guys today. I don't know what's going on. All right, Sophie, which I know your name is not Sophie, but I can see mom's name is probably Sophie. Go ahead and ask your question, bud.
Bad dogs.
Oh, bad dogs. That is a good comment. You are very right. Bad dogs. Okay, Santina, you are, hold on. Should be unmuted. Hold on, you're not unmuted. Hold on, baby. Hold on. I can't get it to work. It's not letting me unmute you. Maybe, I wonder if you guys, it's not letting me unmute you, Santina. Maybe you can type it in the group chat and I can share for you. Oh, now you're unmuted. There you go. Go ahead.
Can that rooster fly?
So chickens can't really fly, kind of like the same as the roadrunner. If they're up somewhere high, they can use their wings to kind of glide down from a higher place. But he might be able to fly a little bit better than the bigger ones, like maybe like he'll be able to kind of like jump, hop a little bit, but not like a regular bird in the sky. He will not be able to fly like that, no. Good question though.
And then it looks like Chet and Ella asked if they said that they had chickens when they were little. They wanted to know if the chicken is a rooster, and yes, he is a rooster.
Yeah, he is a boy, so they're called roosters when they're a boy. That is correct. And I can try and coax him to see if I can get him to crow. I might look a little silly, but I do chalk chicken a little bit. Oh, he's giving the big wings. He's a little busy grooming himself right now, though. I'm not sure. I can try and play a rooster crowing on YouTube. I know we're kind of pressed for time, but he is just as loud as the big rooster when he crows. He has kind of an ear-piercing crow. So let me see. That'll be the last thing if we can get him to do it. All right, Tabby. We're going to play you a rooster crowing and see if you're going to answer the call. What is that? He was doing it earlier. I was trying to hide him as the surprise, but now he, of course, does not want to do it. You want to do it? Maybe? No. He has a little bit of stage fright, I guess. That's okay, though. We still love him.
And then we had one more question. Can chickens live outdoor in Albuquerque all year round? Yes, they can live outside in Albuquerque all year round.
They sure can. Usually during the winter, what I'd have like a 60-watt light bulb in their coop. So it's like an enclosed area. When you have like 6 or 8 chickens in there together, their body heat will keep them warm, and then plus the light as well. But yep, they're relatively tolerant. Maybe not in like Michigan or something. Okay, was that all of our questions for Tabby?
Thank you, Miss Alicia. We appreciate it.
Then I can go back to your slide. I know you wanted to talk about
It's okay. We can skip it. It's all right.
Oh.
I'm all right. Yeah. No
I'm
worries.
sorry.
No, you're totally fine. Most of these kids have already heard about Garden for Wildlife, right? We talked about getting our certifications for Garden for Wildlife, and we posted on our Facebook page for any of you that haven't. So no worries whatsoever. We are good.
Awesome. All right.
All right, guys. I'm gonna unmute everybody really quick so that everybody can say thank you. We have to make sure we say thank you to our guest speakers, okay? All right, everybody's unmuted. What do we say?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Talking Talons. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Nature Niños. So happy to be here.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you. All right, guys. Well, I hope that everybody has a wonderful week, and I hope that everybody can find their 3 birds that they promised Miss Alicia that they would try to find, right? And document either with the app or drawing a picture. So you guys try your best, and when we come back on Friday, don't forget on Friday, if you come back on Friday, you can share what birds that you've seen, okay? Eli, if you want, you can chat your question in the group chat and I'll answer it for you, okay? All right, guys, you guys have a good week. We'll see you later. Have a good day, okay? We'll see you on Friday. Bye, guys.